What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer, and I think a few of you may have actually seen this video already. I'm sorry. I actually had to delete it. The audio was so weird. So hopefully no one actually did catch this. But I'm going to redo the video now. And what I was saying in that video that I just did was I'm really behind in my deck profile, so I'm going to try to get caught up maybe in the next few days. And if there's one you really want to see, just let me know. And I'll probably just make it happen. This way I know you guys what order you want it to be in. If not, I'll just go down the list. But anyways, starting off here, the two Infernoid Anuchu and the two Infernoid Deviati. Anuchu destroys all monsters on the field, and actually, secondary effect is negating a spell and trap. Very good card, obviously. Deviati is the exact opposite. When it's special summon, it destroys all spells and traps, and then quick effect tribute a monster to negate the monster effect. And as you guys I'm sure know, Layer of Darkness is the core of this deck. It's what makes it work. So yep, you can tribute your opponent's monster to start negating their spells and traps or their monsters. It's ridiculous. I run the one Atone Duel. This is kind of your battle phase effect. When it destroys a monster by battle, you can also make an additional attack, and you do have to destroy a monster initially, but that second attack actually is indiscriminate, so it can be a direct attack, which is very nice. And I think all the rest of these, like their secondary, their quick effect, or their effect during your opponent's turn is to banish a card from your opponent's graveyard. So just keep that in mind. Very good removal for a graveyard-heavy format. I would say, against Invoked, against Drytron, these cards are incredible. I run the two Cytosmus, Cytimus. I never know how to pronounce these dumb cards. But if it attacked and it doesn't have to destroy it, which is very nice. So if there's a monster that you can't get over and you can afford the life points, most of the time you can, right? You can do non-targeting banishment. That's why I run two of these. Is actually very good. The one Shiet, Shiet. This one, when it attacks, actually when it just declares an attack, you can banish one monster from your opponent's extra deck. It is their choice, but still, it's not a bad tech card. Especially if they're running a bunch of one-ups. They'll be forced to make some tough decisions. Maybe even get rid of some of their lines of plays. Going second as well when their extra deck is getting smaller. Those decisions can be tough. Run the two Infernoid Petrulia. This one has to be special summoned from the hand. That's why I run two. This one targets a spell and trap on the field, destroys it. So another form of spell and trap removal that you don't have to use on like a Harpy's Feather Duster or Twin Twisters. Because again, consistency is king in this deck, so that's why I don't run it in the main and on the side. If you're playing against Ultrageist, or heaven forbid you're playing against like Mystic Mind Burn, you'll have to put that in. The one Infernoid Harmadique. This one targets a monster on the field, destroys it. It's not bad, and most of the time it'll just be banished fodder for some of the bigger ones. The one Infernoid Antra. This targets a card your opponent controls and returns it to the hand. Very cool. Very good, and it's a low-level one. All you have to do is banish one Infernoid monster from the hand or graveyard. The three Decatron, of course. The three triple tactical talents. So there you go. There's a $300 deck right here, in and of itself, because the rest of these cards are extremely affordable. The three monster gates, not monster negates, to go along with the one reasoning. The idea of siding out reasoning is really dependent upon the duelist. Going into game 2 and 3, they're always going to call one. It's the only target in the deck. But still, it fuels your graveyard. It just kind of stinks you can't use Decatron. Unlike Monster Gate, which will obviously always summon Decatron. So this could be a flex spot. It depends on your philosophy. I run Pot of Extravagance instead of Pot of Indulgence. The reason behind that is you need as many cards in your hand as humanly possible. So instead of getting one, you get two. That's kind of why I run it this way. I guess you could do it the other way. If you run Pot of Indulgence, of course you can change these ratios quite a bit, because this is an indiscriminate banishment versus Pot of Indulgence where you get to choose. 3 Forbidden Droplets. So $600 right here in this little square that I'm kind of pointing out. But these, I'm telling you, you have to, you need some sort of removal, and you can't have hand traps. There you go. I mean, these cards will get reprints, I'm sure, a lot of times, and hopefully we'll even see this in a structured deck someday, although now I'm banking on Konami making a decision for the player base. Who knows? One Terraforming. I do run set rotation as well. Again, you're not really going to win any duels without Layer of Darkness. That's why I have a brick essentially in the Seal of Orichalcos in here. 3 Void of Agitation. This is your fusion spell, and actually it makes all of the Infernoid monsters become like level 1. You can just summon a bunch of them. Now your opponent does have less damage, but still, if you can, it doesn't actually like half your attack, it just halves the damage, meaning your opponent's going to have a hard time getting over these, and if you can get an Anuchu and a Deviati and an Atonal on your field, your opponent's probably not going to be able to do too much anyways. But besides that, if your opponent, it's kind of like a should all fusion. If your opponent controls a monster from the extra deck, you can fusion summon, sending 3 Elder Entity Nis if you really want to pop 3 cards. It's not a hard once per turn. I don't even know if it's a once per turn period. Yeah, so it's absolutely crazy. Or you can send 2 of these to pop 2 and send one of your Wind Pegasuses. That is a little bit of good removal if your opponent ends up getting rid of your like Deviati or your Anuchu. You can shuffle them back, and a lot of times your opponent may even forget about it and force them into a misplay. Yeah, so I do run the 2 Void Vanishment as well. It's a searcher for your Void of Agitation and your Void Feast, which special summons a bunch of your Infernoid monsters, ignoring their summoning conditions, which is great in the 3 Layer of Darkness. Onto the extra deck is the Infernoid Terrara. It's awesome. It just mills your deck like nuts, and there's a whole bunch of effects here. I don't even know how you would ever get to 10 or more. I think there is like a turbo version of it, but for the most part, it'll be sending the top 3 cards of the deck to the graveyard, and then, you know, forcing your opponent to mill 3 of their cards as well. It's not great if you're playing like a match against Dogmatica, but most of the time, forcing your opponent to send 3 is very good. I run 1 Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. I know there's no target, but it goes into the side deck. So essentially, I don't want to put 3 Starving Venom in my side deck. That feels like a waste. I just run 1. And in reality, you could interchange any of these out, but some of these are good tech cards that you never know if you'll need. 3 Elder Entity Nis. Even if I wasn't running Pot of Extravagance, I would run this at 3 anyways, because like I said, this could potentially pop 3 cards in your opponent's field, which is awesome. 3 Wind Pegasus. Again, it's just a form of disruption. I run the 3 because of Pot of Extravagance. I wouldn't if I run Pot of Indulgence, most likely. I run the Nightmare package. Very good versatility. Nightmare Cerberus is a pretty decent card right now in the format. The whatever you want to call it, Doolittle Chimera. It helps you gain attack, but if it's destroyed by battle, you get to add one of your Infernoid monsters to your hand, which will most likely be Decatron or Entra, whatever the case may be. Onto the side is an extra copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, like I've been saying, the Harpy's Feather Duster, the 2 Twin Twisters. This could be Cosmic Cyclones, but again, a lot of these monsters can be special summoned from the graveyard, meaning you can technically fill your own graveyard, which is kind of cool. 3 Super Polymerization. This isn't honestly a good card in the format right now, but you do have Layer of Darkness, so it's essentially a zombie world. Is that what it's called? For the deck, meaning that you can Starving Venom Fusion Dragon any 2 of your opponent's monsters because they become dark on the field. Evenly Match is always, I think, this will be a good card forever and ever. Dimensional Barrier, because your opponent's going to force you to go first at some point, because this is pretty much a going second deck for the most part. Although if you can get your play set up, it's not the worst thing, but yeah, you almost always want to go second. And Dimensional Barrier can just win you matchups against Drytron, against Zoo. Those 2 decks in particular, I mean, you want to go down the myriad of casual strategies. Of course, this card could just end it too. You're playing Fluffles, but it's not always great. You're playing Eldritch, okay, this is like, you might as well just surrender there. So that's why it's not in the main deck. And the 2 Summon Limit, you can work under Summon Limit way better than I think most decks can. Special Summoning 2 of your Infernoids is mostly like what you're going to cap out, and you know, again, this could be an ender for Drytron. But yeah, that is the deck profile. The second time recording this, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know if there's any other deck profiles, like I said in the beginning of the video, that you want me to kind of put up first. I'm going to be working through the Invoke stuff and trying to get that, the Invoked Winged Dragon of Ra. I'm going to try to get that done soon. I'm going to be doing an in-person deck profile for the Penguin Knight deck that I just ordered. Although I ordered a Korean Krishna Needle Fiber because I'm very dumb. But I may just use it for the deck profile purpose unless the other one that I ordered actually gets here. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Hope you have an absolutely wonderful night, and I'll see you next time.